everyone. Sorry I'm a minute or so late. Thank you so much for joining us on your lunchtime. I'm Stacey. I am the Career Change Co-Lead at Escape the City, and I'm also the Alumni Community Manager for the 1,500 or so of us who have been through one of the Escape School programs. Alongside that, I run a money coaching business for financial wellbeing and financial education. So there's going to be a lot of focus today on the practicalities of transition and the financial aspects of transition and how we can help ourselves financially through our career change. Welcome to the alumni who have done an Escape School program with us. It's really nice to see that some of you are joining. And hello to everybody who's taking part in Escape the City's Hustle Olympics, which is a daily challenge every day through January to make 2020 the year that we take action. And it's nice to see that the daily challenge today was related to our finances. So I'm excited to read how you guys go about that challenge today. So we've got until 1 o'clock to talk about the practical aspects of career change. I made some notes this morning, so I'm going to keep looking down like that. If you're wondering what I'm up to, I'm just having a sneak peek at some of the notes I made. But I want to divide this session generally between, firstly, before we make a career transition, and then when we make a career transition, and then after we've made a career transition, and hopefully give some practical tips about things you might do with whichever stage that you're currently at. Okay, let's get started, shall we? So before you make a career transition, let's assume that some of you are currently in work that doesn't matter to you or work that doesn't feel particularly fulfilling. And what can you do now to give yourself the best chance of making a transition in the future? The first thing I would say would be to carve out time to work on your career change and put some systems and accountability in place that works for you. Make these things small, but regular and consistent. So for example, I used to be for 10 years working in investment management, and I had a friend working nearby me, and we would meet at least once a week for a coffee at lunchtime, where we would focus that hour on talking about our career change and holding each other accountable and setting ourselves small steps that we might take to work on our career change. So carving out time and using that time to work on your career change that fits around your current work, and having an accountability system in place that helps you stick to that. Is very helpful. The second one, the first one to do with money, would be to review your relationship with money. So what does that mean? That means asking yourself questions like, what does money mean to you? What has money meant to you in the past? How does money fit into your definition of a successful career and a successful life? What's currently influencing your view of money or your view of your salary or your income? Does that feel like a healthy influence? Does it feel like a healthy comparison? Is it helping you move towards a career you want, or is it holding you back in some way? Some free writing exercises around questions like that, conversations with somebody, a mentor or a financial coach or a friend that you feel comfortable with talking about money, but really get familiar with how you feel about money by asking yourselves those sorts of questions. Next, if you have a short list of roles or industries or type of work you want to move into, do the research. And I'm not just talking about scrolling and kind of feel good research where you feel like you're doing the work, but you're really doing the work around the work. I mean, kind of have a good guesstimate of what, from a financial perspective, what your future income might look like if you went down some of those career paths. And not just your starting salary, but the trajectory of your money. So how might your salary look in the next 1, 2, 3, 5 years? And how does that feel? Does that feel realistic? Talk to people already doing it. Look on LinkedIn at jobs, and for those that post salaries, or Escape the City's website, similar things like that. Talk to recruiters or headhunters. There's lots of ways now where you can get an idea of the type of money you would be earning. So do the research and test that your assumptions of what you think you might be earning are accurate, and then at least you have some specific numbers to start to play with. And whilst you're still in the comfort of having your old job or in your old career that you're looking to switch out of, start living as if you were earning that new salary. Not only does that help you save money in the short term, but it also gives you a good idea of what it might be like to start living that lifestyle and living on that income. Does it feel more comfortable than you were expecting? Is it surprising? Where are you cutting back? What are you having to give up? And how does all of that feel? And might it be worth it for everything that you might be gaining by moving into a career that matters to you? If you're looking to start your own business or freelance, try getting paid for doing that type of work whilst you're still in your old job. See how easy it is, see how hard it is, what lessons you can learn whilst you still have that safety net of your old job. How much effort does it take? Is the work what you expected it to do? Does it take as long as it does? What skills might you need to build that aren't quite there yet? So, for example, when I was still working and I was really interested in moving into financial coaching and career change development, I volunteered to do workshops in my lunchtime, both at my current employer and at other employers with friend networks. So I could see what it was really like to earn money in that way, how much money I could earn in that way, how it felt to do the work, what skills I wanted to develop before I was ready to take the leap. So practice actually doing the work and see if you can get paid for it, and then see how that feels. The next tip, whilst you're still in your old identity or your old job, would be to negotiate with your current work. Now, this is a really big subject in itself, and if you're interested in negotiation tactics around your salary or negotiation with your employer in general, please do let us know, and I'd happily do a session dedicated to that. But for the sake of today, I'd say, if you feel like you're working above your current salary, do some research and plan and prepare for how you might negotiate for a higher salary. There's lots of tips, and I can share some resources that might help you do that. But also think about negotiating other things with your current employer. So things like holiday allowance, moving from 4 days to 3 days to 2 days a week. Negotiating flexibility on location, where you're doing your work. Can you start doing more work from home? Do you want to work at different times of the day? Might that be helpful? Might you want to start negotiating the sort of tasks that you're doing? Are there teams that might have skills that you're looking to develop that you can start working closer with? Are there tasks that just are so attached to your old identity that you want to get rid of and really bring you down? Can you start negotiating losing some of those? Can you negotiate a sabbatical or a secondment or something that gives you more time or develop skills that will help you move into your new career? So you have lots of different ways and lots of different things that you can negotiate with your current employer on. So think about what they might be and what matters to you most with where you're aiming to get to, and start negotiating some of those with your current employer. In my last 2 years that I was working in investment management, I negotiated a partial paid 3-month sabbatical. I negotiated moving from 4 to 3 days working in the office and the other days working from home, and I negotiated a higher holiday allowance. So again, if you have mentors at work, or you have people that have previously left the organisation that you're still close to, or you have a great relationship with your boss, don't be afraid to have those conversations. Just make sure that you're prepared for them first, obviously, and you think about everybody else involved in the conversations as well as just you. So how your organisation might react, how your boss might react, for example. But you have a lot more creative ways that you can negotiate with your current organisation that you think you might have. That all might be helping you build up, take these small steps towards making a transition. Next, be very clear about what you want to have in place financially before you take that final sexy glamorous leap of actually quitting your job, and make a commitment to those requirements, and stick to them. So for example, before I left investment management, I didn't think I was going to be on a salary for the next 3 to 5 years where I could get a flat in the place I wanted to live in. So for me, buying a house with a second room that I could rent out was really important for me to do that on that current salary. And that was something that I really wanted to do. All of these things, by the way, financially will be very different. We'll all be at different level, so you need to set realistic aspirations that are right for you. But owning my house and being able to rent out a second room was something I wanted in place before I made the final kind of quit decision. I wanted a certain amount in my pension because I knew I was going to be freelancing for a few years, and I probably wasn't going to be investing in my pension in those first few years. So I wanted to have a certain amount in my pension. I wanted to have a certain emergency fund in place that wasn't for my freelancing. That was just to always have as a safety net as my emergency fund, and I wanted a certain amount of money in that. And I also, separately to that, wanted to save at least 1 year worth of expenses that I could potentially use as an emergency fund if my freelancing didn't work out in the first year as I wanted it to. So I had very specific requirements that I put numbers against for each of those things. And I made a commitment that as soon as I'd reached all of those, I would be in a position to quit my job. And I constantly tracked that. So whilst I was in my old job, I was thinking, how much could I save every month? How many months is it therefore going to take me to reach those goals? Is that in line with my kind of requirements, my time frame requirements? Do I need to make any adjustments, or do I need to revise those numbers? But having specific financial commitments that you want to have in place can be a great kind of safety net. It can be a really realistic, practical thing to do. But emotionally and from a mindset perspective, it can also be that final thing you need to make that last really scary leap to actually quit your job. And if you feel like you need to have somebody to hold you to account with those that you trust and feel comfortable with, then definitely share them with someone else. I had them as my desktop saver image for a while, which was also helpful. So a way that I could constantly see them as a reminder of what I was working towards. And obviously, budgeting. So put in place a budget and get used to tracking your numbers, because that's going to be a critical skill to have in place when you move into another job that perhaps might not be earning as much as you are now. So get used to budgeting, and budgeting on potentially budgeting using numbers that you might be working with when you finally do leave this job. And the last one on things to do before you transition would be to talk to those you might need to. So don't do it on your own. So if you have a partner and you have shared financial responsibilities, take them on the journey with you. If you have mentors or professional networks like Escape, or friends that are very kind of empathetic to what you're trying to do, talk to them and seek advice wherever ways that you seek advice, but take people on the journey with you. Okay, step 2 is making the transition itself. So what can we do during this transition period? Everybody's career change is different, different timeframes, different moves to different industries, etc., different types of work, but it's rarely a clean break. So very few of us are fortunate enough to overnight quit an old identity job and move into the ideal job that we want to have for the rest of our lives the next day. So most of us have what we call this period of being betwixt and between. And during this time, you might have a mix of what we would refer to at Escape as survival work and as soul work. So survival work might be earning money because you need to earn money and keep paying those bills, or you're making a slow transition away from old identity work. And then the soul work is moving towards work that's really aligns to your values and something that you really want to do. Whenever you are doing survival work, put a realistic limit on it, a certain number of days you want to be doing it, a certain amount of money you want to be earning from it, a certain amount of time you want to be working on it, say like 6 months or 12 months or 2 days a week or 3 days a week, whatever. And all the money that you do earn from survival work, make the most of it. So use that as motivation of, this is my survival work income, so I'm going to transition a certain amount of this into my savings for my soul work, or I'm using this, which will give me like 1 extra day a week where I don't have to work, that I can spend developing new skills to move more towards my soul work. So make sure that any money you are making from survival work is being channeled into something that really matters to you. This can be a really difficult period, being betwixt and between. You might be in the early stages of building a portfolio career. You might have moved into a new industry part-time and earning a lower salary. So it can be really difficult emotionally, and we can be very tempted to go back into full-time survival work or our old higher paying job. To this, I would say, trust the process, stay focused on the small steps. The world doesn't always meet us in the way that we want it to and when we want it to. So measure your gains and not your gaps. Remember carving out time to do those small steps, and just focus on what you can control and everything you are doing, and what your own goals and timeframes are. And use the support networks available to you, like Escape the City. Recognize what assets you have available to you that can help you make more income if you need to. So do you have a room or a flat or car parking space or a kitchen that people can co-work from, that you can rent out? Do you have spare time that you can do another part-time job for, like drop shipping with Amazon, some people do, or if you talk to Uber drivers or delivery drivers, they often have other jobs that they're doing. So any part-time work that you can look at doing to increase your income? Or do you have other skills that you're not currently using, or networks you can tap into to increase your income temporarily? So when I was in my betwixt and between period, and I was reducing the amount of time I was working on investment management and moving towards my portfolio career, I was doing an operations role at Escape 3 days a week. And I would have considered that at the time survival work, even though it was for a purpose-driven organization that I was really aligned to. The day-to-day work was in my survival work, because what I was moving towards was the career change work and the money coaching work. So think about networks and partnerships and communities that you're a part of that might be able to help you. If you want to start a business, look for funding options that might be available to you. Not necessarily just the really sexy, exciting Kate and Will Save the World funding, which is absolutely awesome, but also just go to your bank and ask, I'm looking to set up this small business, what grants or loans are available to me. Go on the Government UK website and there's a list of grants and funding options available for small businesses. Look at things like Enterprise Nation, Virgin Startup Loan. And if you are in between work and not earning much income, go on a website like Entitled To and see if you are entitled to any benefits. And join communities, both online communities or in-person communities, full of people already doing the work that matters to them, or in a career that you're looking to transition into, or moving in that direction. So you're starting to surround yourself by people who are doing and moving towards the things that really matter to you. And also, I'm going to say this in every of these 3 steps, again, to budget. So how is your income changing? How is your cash flow changing? How are your costs changing? What adjustments do you need to make? What are the biggest levers that you can pull to make a big enough difference quickly? There's obviously loads of apps these days because of open banking. We have things like Monzo or You Need a Budget or Clio. There's so many of them out there that do some form of budgeting for you. They are all great if they work for you. I always think that there's nothing better than a spreadsheet to get really comfortable with your own numbers. You can make it as flexible as you need it to fit your own situation, and there's no hiding away from your actual numbers, and it's a really good habit to get into. So I found nothing better than the spreadsheet for me personally, but if you're finding some apps that are really working for you, then please share them with everybody else so they can see those recommendations on here too. So thirdly, we have, let me just do a quick time check. Woohoo. Thirdly, we have the stage where you've kind of made the transition. Let's say you feel like you've moved into doing work that really matters to you. That might be starting a new business, that might be starting a new job in an industry or a purpose-driven organization you wanted to work in, or it might be that you're starting to build your portfolio career. It's not always the case, but you might now be on a salary that you're that is lower than what you were perhaps used to. Remember why you're doing it. Doing something you love is really, really hard. Like doing work that matters, that you really care about, that you feel like is really making a difference to you and other people is really, really difficult and brings a totally different set of stresses and pressures to doing work that you don't love. But caring about your work can feel really hard at times. So stay connected to the bigger reasons as to why you're doing it, and stay connected to all of those communities that are out there supporting you. And again, budget. So set up some time, probably when you're in the early throes of a transition. I would do this weekly. I always do this weekly anyway, but it depends how much you love the numbers. But set up some time, a meeting in the calendar with yourself to purely focus on your finances, and do a review of the numbers, learn to love the detail, and ask people who are doing something similar to you. It might be freelancing, where you speak to financial professionals if you need to, and hopefully on a free basis initially. But if you need to talk to an independent accountant, or go on a community like Escape the City and ask people for advice on how can I get accountancy advice, for example. But do what you need to do to get really familiar with your own numbers and keep track of your spending. So I tracked in a spreadsheet the last 3 months I was in a corporate job in London and what my expenditure was, and then the first 3 months is my freelance work, and my spending went down so much more than I'd even planned for. So my spending went down more than half. That's because I didn't have an expensive train commute anymore, but it's also because I didn't need a PT anymore because I have more time to do my own free versions of exercise. I didn't need to buy expensive food in train stations because I have more time to cook and things like that. But keep track of your spending and how it's changing, and if it's changed in a way that's surprised you or not. And be aware of any costs that might creep up on you. So this is related to the Day 5 challenge of the Hustle Olympics. But last year, my first year as a full-time freelancer, it was some of my annual costs that I hadn't that caught me by surprise and I hadn't budgeted for appropriately. So things like there were damps work in my building that I needed to pay for. My annual website subscription, I'd forgotten that was due in December. And then I got 2 parking tickets. Luckily, I negotiated and I didn't have to pay for either of those. But it's those sorts of costs that might knock us off track. So as well as taking kind of a weekly or a monthly or whatever your cash flow mindset is, take an annual view as well and talk to other people about unexpected costs that they have come up for them and plan for them if you're able to in your own budget. Keep track of all of the skills that you're learning, all of the networks and relationships that you're building, and all of the companies and partners that you're working with, and be open to any opportunities that come your way. I think I knew that I wanted to move into money coaching, and career change development, I didn't realize how quickly I would pick up facilitation skills and do a lot more workshops than I am doing one-to-one time. Friends who have worked in schools and company have asked me to go into do workshops for them, which I wasn't expecting. And I'm now also working for a charity part-time. So my portfolio career has grown in ways I wasn't expecting. So it's being aware of all of the skills and communities and networks that you're a part of, and getting creative and being open to any financial opportunities that come your way, because there might be some that surprise you. And remember that we're always hustling in the positive sense of the word. So we're always in transition. This is a journey. Trust the process, celebrate and learn from any of the failures and lessons that you have along the way. Surround yourself with networks and friends who can support you and give you honest advice and challenge you when necessary if the path feels really difficult. And always be ready to pitch. Always be ready with that one powerful sentence of, hello, I'm Stacey. I help people transform their relationship with money. I do this through working with purpose-driven organizations, charities, and companies. And at the minute, I'm looking to do more workshop and facilitation work. And be prepared with that sort of powerful sentence to you that you can pitch to anybody at any time. Those are most of the things that I wanted to cram into 30 minutes today. I hope it's been helpful. I can see that lots of people have commented, so thank you for those. If there are any questions in there, we will get back to you. If there's anything that I've touched upon today that you would like more information on, let us know, and I will happily do another one of these or set up a workshop. Yes, any requests or and anything that I've said that has inspired you with your own experiences or your own tips that you think other people listening might benefit from, please add those in the comments too. I really believe that money is something we all have valuable experience and valuable tips that we can all learn from each other. So please do share those. And just wanted to end with letting you guys know that we have a few spaces left remaining on the startup program and the career change program. The startup program begins on the 25th of January and the career change program begins on the 1st of February. 12-week part-time programs to fit around your full-time work. And I can put a link to more information on those in the comments after I wrap up. But thanks so much for listening and carving out the time. I hope it's been valuable to you. If you do adopt any of the tips that I've shared and they've been helpful to you, please do let me know, because that brings me joy. Thanks so much and have a lovely rest of your week, and good luck in the Hustle Olympics, guys. Take care. Bye.